Welcome everybody to the game review of the Titans 30-27 Week 3 preseason victory over the Saints. Not that anybody cares about wins and losses in the preseason, but the Titans did finish the preseason undefeated. I'm doing this as a video report. I started to write it out, but things are happening so fast, I didn't want to take too much more time typing. There's something from this game that I need to convey that I wanted to do it in a personal sense so that you could feel the emotion of what I'm trying to get at. And I'm going to save that to the very end, not to be a jerk, but let me get through all of the other stuff first from this game, which there's not going to be anything groundbreaking. We'll talk about A.T. Perry, we'll talk about some players, but at the end, I'm going to dedicate the majority of the time to the Tony Pollard, Ty Spears situation and why I think it is suddenly a white-hot situation for people who are getting ready to redraft, people who've already redrafted and can trade, and for dynasty people to make trades with. So it's going to be Pollard Spears, but let me get through the other game notes first, and then we'll take a little bit of extended time on the Pollard Spears situation, which I think is white hot right now, right here, right now. So I'm doing this on the fly, and I started to type it out, so I'm not really organized. I just came back from a meeting, sat down, I'm taking my chicken scratch notes, so I'm going to be looking down and looking up, going through my notes. I'm going to try to blaze through them. This game itself, the Titans ran their first team offense for 2 series. Will Levis in for 2 series. Sorry, I'm also going to look down at my watch occasionally in case some hot football news comes across, but instead it's 1-800-FLOWERS advertisement into my email, which I really needed to know about. The Titans ran their first team against the Saints B team, C team, D team. So it was already a mismatch from the jump. Levis was at quarterback for 2 series, led 2 scoring drives, was 7 of 8 passing. He looked fantastic. I mean, and you want him to look fantastic in a situation where he's facing the Titans BCD team, or the Saints BCD defense. So it went according to script. However, I'm going to put in 2 notes. One, he had some great downfield passes. He looks so smooth this preseason. What Brian Callahan has done with this offense in the preseason, we'll see if it translates to the regular season, but I think that it will. I have no qualms about Will Levis. As you know, I want to be known as Mr. Will Levis for this season, so that when it goes well, people are going to say, oh, that's the Will Levis guy. That's the guy that was talking about Will Levis. I'm ready to be attached to Will Levis, sink or swim. But everything looks great for it in the preseason, which can be famous last words, but this is, I think, Levis and this situation is beyond just some nice preseason activity. But just note, he looked great. The offense looked great once again. You want him to crush bad backup defenses. The funny part is that I saw reviews on this and Levis's great preseason, and it's always, oh, but this is the preseason. Yeah, Levis's numbers are great, and the Titans had the top offense in the preseason, but it's just the preseason. It's just the preseason when it's Will Levis, who they don't like for whatever reason. But when Caleb Williams looks like crap for 5 plays in a row, then has one great play off a scramble around, off script, then against a C team defense opponent, he has one play and it's like, oh my goodness, Caleb Williams is the real deal. We knew it all along. This is incredible. Why is it incredible when Caleb Williams has one good thing happen out of every 5 events against a C team defense, but when Will Levis just meticulously rips apart a C-D level defense, it's like, oh, it's just the preseason. It's a beautiful thing because it's going to keep Levis's ADP down. He's starting to gain a little bit, but he's not going to get anywhere close in ADP to where he should be. So just note the Will Levis train is still rolling on down the tracks. Second note, A.T. Perry. Totally ridiculous what the Saints are doing. Totally ridiculous what Dennis Allen is doing. They ran out their B-team offense to start. A.T. Perry wasn't even in the starting duo or trio of wide receivers for the first play. He came in on the second play. So it's just like Dennis Allen is just little digs at him. And what's so ridiculous about it is I watched A.T. Perry in this game. He had 2 catches for 67 yards, had a 43-yarder. He got open every time he ran a route. He looks just like Justin Jefferson to me. He always has. He's so smooth. He gets open. He catches the ball. He caught a touchdown in this game, like a 20-plus yard touchdown, but it got called back for offensive holding. He's had a nice preseason when he's been in the game, but Dennis Allen has just torpedoed his career. I mean, he's running like the 5th or 6th wide receiver when really he's probably the 2nd best wide receiver on the team, maybe 3rd. Rashid Shaheed's just a different type of wide receiver, so it's not fair to compare him. But I think A.T. Perry has got potential superstar ability, but his career is getting sunk fast. And because if A.T. Perry had a famous Hall of Fame father wide receiver, and A.T. Perry was just jammed right into the starting lineup and given all the targets like another famous wide receiver from this draft is going to be. If A.T. Perry got all the first team work, all the coaching, all the this, all the that, he'd be a superstar. That's the way it works in the NFL, because it works the opposite way when it's an A.T. Perry that like is a 6th round draft pick and we're not sure if we like him, so he's going to work behind Cedric Wilson and be the number 5-6 wide receiver because maybe he was late to a meeting or whatever. They're just missing out on a huge opportunity. His career is getting torpedoed, and it shouldn't be. And the thing about it is maybe there's something off the field. Could be true. I just know when he steps onto the field in the preseason, when he's working with Jake Hayner just looks for him almost every time because Jake Hayner's not stupid like Spencer Rattler is. So, yeah, it might be something off the field with A.T. Perry, and that's a problem, but I'm also thinking, this is the Saints. They put up with Michael Thomas's crap for... How many years did they put up with Michael Thomas not even playing, blasting off on social media, blasting the coaches, and then they brought him back and gave him even more money to come back. I mean, he had one good season, and they paid him tens of millions of dollars for the next 4 seasons and got nothing out of him but problems, and they kept going back to that well. Alvin Kamara's a problem off the field. They're going to keep going back to that well. But A.T. Perry has done something to offend the great Dennis Allen. So can't wait until Dennis Allen gets fired. But just know A.T. Perry looks fantastic, but his career is sinking, is taking on water fast and sinking. Just like Kendre Miller's. New coach, new staff may save them, but new staffs typically come in and jettison all of the old regime's players. So A.T. Perry's career is coming to a crossroads, but I assure you, there is nothing on the field that says that this is a problem. Side note on something I was watching in this game, as I was watching the Titans' first team offense, I went back and I rewatched it just to watch first round draft pick offensive tackle J.C. Latham's work, just to see how he's doing, how he's progressing. I wasn't a fan of what I saw pre-draft. Neither was our FFM scout Ross Jacobs. Sorry, hit the cough button. But so I watched him here. I mean, he gives an effort. He's a big body, but boy, he's not the quickest offensive tackle in the world. He looks very beatable, just like he did in college. I I wished the Titans would have went any number of different ways besides try to make J.C. Latham a thing. But I'm sure it's just like everything else in NFL scouting. It has nothing to do, or it doesn't fully have to do with ability. It also has to do with the same thing that suckered Carolina into Bryce Young. I'm sure when they met with J.C. Latham, he said all the right things in the interview. Great kid. I mean, he is a great guy. He's a hard worker. I'm sure he's the first into the facility. I'm sure he's there at 3 o'clock in the morning and he leaves at 2 a.m. and goes home and then gets to his driveway, turns his car off, then turns it right back on and turns around and goes back to the facilities to be there first thing at 3 a.m. I'm sure he's great. But the guy's too big, too blocky, too slow to be a great left tackle. At least that's what I see at this point. Maybe Father Callahan's going to turn him into something. If he can just be okay, we can live with that. But that I was not impressed with what I saw from Latham. Okay, a couple rapid fire notes. This Saints running back, who I'm not totally familiar with, that I'm sure got cut, maybe on the practice squad. I needed to look it up, and that's what I was going to do when I got back, but now I'm doing this emergency video. Jacob Kibodi, he looked pretty good. Not that this is a stop everything and go pick him up in deep leagues or dynasty or anything like that. I just thought I hadn't really noticed him before. Maybe I'd noticed and didn't put a lot into it. I think I saw something from him either week 1 or week 2, but didn't move me greatly. Watching him here, he's got a little something, but he's probably going to be practice squad bound for years and bounce around the league type of guy. But he looked like he has something. Again, if he had a famous father that pushed him and wouldn't let him sign jersey contracts with Fanatics and all that type of stuff, if he was jammed in to play, he'd probably run for 1,000 yards in a season. But he's an undrafted free agent that nobody cares about from, where's he from? From the rookie from Louisiana, undrafted. He'll probably never even see an NFL field. But just noting, I'm going to do a little bit more work on him and raise his stock up in our various rankings. Also, old James Robinson, that's been kicking around. James Robinson of the, speaking of undrafted free agents who got a chance and ran for 1,000 yards in a season, or I think he did his first season, and then disappeared. He had the Achilles and then disappeared. He didn't look too bad here, and I'm just saying that from the he bounces around the league, and I'm sure when there's an injury that pops up, somebody will pick him up and put him in. He looks like he's starting to get a little bit of his juice back. Not that he's going to be a star. He never was a star type of talent. He was just the best thing Jacksonville had, or so they thought. What else? Oh, I was watching the Titans and then watching the second and third team come in, and I'm seeing Treylon Burks out there with the third team, and I'm like, this Treylon Burks thing is going nowhere fast. Just FYI. Watching A.T. Perry, watching the Saints offense at work, watching the wide receivers to try to get a feel. I wanted to see Bub Means and A.T. Perry. A.T. Perry looks great. Bub Means looks like he's going to be out of the league in 2 years. Bub Means has physical ability. Bub Means can catch a ball. He can run. He's got size. But he plays like he's scared. 3 weeks into the preseason, he plays very finesse, very soft, very unimpressed with what I saw from Bub Means here as I was looking, because they have Bub Means elevated above A.T. Perry, which again, Dennis Allen is insane. But there's plenty of evidence that that's true, so I'm not saying something fresh. The quarterbacks for the Saints, Jake Hayner looked okay. Looks like Taylor Heinicke. Looks like every backup quarterback that's reasonable, and I think if he sticks with it for the next couple years, he'll be a plausible backup. Spencer Rattler still looks the same. He's gonna throw it when he drops back in the pocket, wherever he's looking as he's dropping back in the pocket, that's where he's throwing. He's gonna get rid of that ball. He's not reading defenses, and yet if he ever is going to. I've never seen him really do that. He's good, like a lot of these fake quarterbacks. They're good off script when they scramble around and plays break down and they can see guys open that have broken away from coverage because the play's gone 6 and 7 and 8 seconds outside the pocket. But you keep Spencer Rattler in the pocket, you keep Caleb Williams in the pocket. They can't deliver. So I know Saints fans are having a great debate. They want to get Spencer Rattler in for Derek Carr. I guarantee if that happens, I am playing the opposing defense that week that it happens in fantasy. Tennessee Titans linebacker James Williams, who was a safety for Miami of Florida, now trying to be a linebacker with the Titans. I don't see it. They need to make him a big old safety or move on. I mean, maybe he's going to get better another year. I'm not writing him off, but he was intriguing as a safety. He is much less intriguing as a linebacker. He looks about as lost could be. Maybe he'll get it together, but just throwing that note out there that James Williams is not looking so great. Okay, that clears the decks of Titans Saints related things. Now let's talk about Tony Pollard and Ty Spears. Leading into this game, into the preseason, the thought was this is going to be Tony Pollard with Ty Spears. It's going to be a 50-50 split to whatever degree. And the momentum was with Ty Spears, I think, because people wanted to hate Tony Pollard because Tony Pollard was a letdown last year. So rankings before the preseason started, you would have seen Ty Spears ranked in the top 30 running backs, maybe top 25, right around 25 or so, and then Pollard just like a couple spots down ADP wise. So it was like they were gonna have a split in games coming up for the regular season, 50-50. Their ADPs were kind of split, like they were close to each other, but the momentum, the love was with Ty Spears just because they, he's the new guy, he's the younger guy, so he's a magical unicorn that may do something amazing. We've seen the Tony Pollard act. He disappointed people last year, former Cowboy, so we hate Tony Pollard. Well, now you see the ADPs. Tony Pollard is moved ahead of Spears. Spears is fading back. Pollard is moving up, but I don't think he's moved up near as much as he should. Let me tell you what happened in this game. So the Titans run out their first team. They have a 6, 7, 8 play drive, go down for a touchdown. Tony Pollard is in the game every play for that first series, kind of like a Rachaad White series. So full first team, touchdown drive, all Tony Pollard. I think he capped it off with the rushing touchdown. He capped it off with a rushing touchdown. So then second series, the first team comes out again. It's going to be the last time the first team comes out. Now it's Ty Spears. So, okay, I could think, well, maybe they're just wanting to give a, hold on, getting text. I just wanted to see if there was anything important from it. Okay, maybe they're just giving Pollard a series, then Spears a series. It's just easier to do that than make them run in and off the field for a 50-50 type thing. Maybe they're just going to do series and series. So Spears got in for the second series and was in most of the plays. When they got a play, Spears tried to take it in from within the 5-yard line. Another scoring drive led by Levis. They tried to punch it in with Spears. He got clocked short, a couple yards short. They took him out after that and put in Pollard for a play. It may have been because Spears got a pretty good hit, or maybe they're just wanting to put Pollard back in. They didn't put Spears in for Pollard in the first series, but they did put Pollard in for Spears once on the second series. So then second series is over. Titans score again. first team is done for the day. In comes the B team with Mason Rudolph, but Tyjae Spears is still out there. They are not. The Titans are not treating Tyjae Spears like he's an equal with Tony Pollard that I've seen this preseason. I've been thinking Pollard is a nudge ahead. This is not 50-50. This is like 55-45. This is like 60-40 Pollard. Now I'm starting to think this is more 65-35 Pollard. This is maybe more pushed to 70-30 for Pollard. And the more I thought about it, and after watching this, I started thinking Pollard looks better. Pollard certainly has a track record. Pollard is a similar version to Tyjae Spears. Both good in the passing game. Both decent runners of the ball. Pollard was considered, just a year ago at this time, he was an RB1. He was a top, he was ADP 7, 8, 9 running back last year, if I remember correctly. He was going in the first round of drafts with the Cowboys. So Pollard, in theory, has an edge of experience with similar talents to Spears. So that could be hey, this is going to be a split. But they're not fully Spears is going to play. He's going to get his time. But after seeing this preseason, they're not really treating this as this is a 50-50 split, or this is a sneaky Spears might actually be our favorite, but we're letting Pollard start because he's a veteran. This looks like they believe in Pollard more. And why that's important as this creeps up to 60-40, 65-35 Pollard or more, you're talking about the lead running back on what might be one of the 3 most productive offenses in the NFL, especially passing game wise. Levis is throwing a lot of passes to the running backs. This is like a West Coast offense on steroids. So I think Pollard and Spears work together. I think Pollard was going to be fine in a 50-50 split. He's more fine in a 55-45 split. He's even finer at 60-40. He's really fine at 65-35. I want the lead running back who's got talent. Looks like Tony Pollard looks fine to me from this preseason. I don't know what happened to him last year with Dallas, but the year prior he was really good. The whole football world was pining for more Tony Pollard 2 and 3 years ago, and 2 years ago, and this time last year. Then he hit a bump in the road with Dallas last year. May have been the offensive line. I don't know what it was. May have been bad luck. He didn't look that bad to me last year, but he just didn't have great fantasy numbers. He's going to be the lead running back on a high volume offense, and you pull back one more layer and go, this is also a new regime that walked in and paid him, I'm just going off the top of my head, 3 years, $25 million. It's not like they didn't believe in him. This is not like a Zach Moss contract with to run with Chase Brown, where I believe that's going to be a 50-50. That Chase Brown can end up being a nudge ahead. This is, the new regime came in and it's we're investing in the Tony Pollard. And then, hey, great, we have also got Tyjae Spears. We're going to be a high-functioning offense. There's going to be a lot to go around. We can rotate these guys. So I believe that, and they have said all along that they're going to split, and they like both of those guys. But I think they mean that in the sense that they have confidence in both of them, but they really have more confidence in Tony Pollard. If that's true, then Tony Pollard trading as the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th running back approximately in ADP. I see him right around 26th as a running back. Overall, about number 80 overall. That's in PPR, because I think there's going to be just a hidden gold from this offense, from this pass game. I kind of want to get in on Tony Pollard at a time right now where I would say 50% of the people in your league, in general, if you asked them, they would rather have Ty Spears. They have an anti-Tony Pollard sentiment. So if you don't own Tony Pollard and you want to acquire him, which I say this is an urgent-ish plea to go out and explore Tony Pollard deals without asking for him direct, without revealing your cards. Just try to find a way to sneak around and get into conversations where Pollard ends up getting into it. Or make a 2 for 2, 2 for 1, whatever blind offer, but not that it's just like all in on Tony Pollard. Massage it, maneuver it around, talk about how you just need some running back depth for your bench. I mean, talk them down a little bit. Don't just come blaring in saying, what does it take to get Tony Pollard? Then the price goes up double as soon as you say that. But this is a good time to get Pollard because half the people in your league, I'm just going to guess, have a negative opinion of the Pollard Spears situation. They have a negative opinion of Will Levis because that's what the media has told them. Therefore, they have a negative opinion of the whole Titans situation. Then they look and they go, great, Pollard and Spears are splitting. And then there's a negative sentiment from Pollard from last year, and there's a positive sentiment on Ty Spears because he's the great unknown magical unicorn that could be the greatest. And it wasn't but 3 or 4 weeks ago that Spears was rated ahead of ADP-wise Tony Pollard. And these websites, if you're getting ready to redraft or if you're going to do a trade analyzer or any of that type of stuff, if the person who owns Pollard, when you go to try to make a trade for him, when they look, there's a chance about half of these platforms still have the old information from their experts that Spears is the sleeper and Spears is the one to have and Tony Pollard's boring and dull and not close to being a rookie anymore, so they're boring and we don't like them. It's a great time to get into Tony Pollard. I was talking with somebody this morning about this and they made mention and said, oh, well, I'll just see if Pollard has a bad weak couple of games and then maybe I'll be able to jump in and get him cheaper. That's a nice sentiment, but I think this Tony Pollard thing might come out of the gates. You're going to see him as the stronger lead ahead of Spears potentially, and then there's going to be then everybody's going to be onto this, and Pollard's going to go from being middle of the pack RB3, RB2.5. He's going to jump up to, in PPR, to jump up to RB1.5 when they see how the Titans' offense works and how they use the running backs in the passing game. So I think the time is now. The time is not to wait. And especially when Titans play the Jets in week 2, you don't want to throw on the Jets' corners. It's going to be a bad game for the wide receivers against the Jets. That's where teams beat the Jets by working the tight end in the passing game and working the running backs. So I don't think that there's time to wait on Tony Pollard. The time is now. The sentiment is down. People have mostly a negative opinion of him. Now, he is a running back, and he is viable, so people are reluctant to let go of running backs. So however you're going to structure a deal, I'm just saying the pricing and everything right here, right now, Tony Pollard deserves to be more a top 15, 16, 17-ish type of running back in PPR, not a top 25 to 30. That's great value if you can get into it, if you can trade into it, or if you're getting ready to do your redrafts. I would start planning as Tony Pollard as a great guy to get like in the 6th round of a draft. Then I love getting Ty Spears if I can to go with them because they're the perfect. I think they can both work together, but I think Pollard is going to be ahead of them now. But if something happens to Pollard, then Spears inherits the world with Julius Chestnut, but it'll be more Spears in that passing game. And then if something happens with Spears, then it's going to be even more Tony Pollard. So I love the combination of the two, but I really want Tony Pollard, and I really would like for you to get Tony Pollard if you think you need him, can afford him, to just kind of put him into your running back mix, if you look and see that your current number 3, 4, a lot of you have, Henry and Rashad, Henry and Pacheco, Pacheco and Rashad. Tony Pollard as your number 3 or number 4 running back going into this season, the way that he's priced, I mean, he's priced around Javonte Williams, he's priced around Zach Moss, he's priced around Brian Robinson. I think it's a great value to get your hands on, especially in PPR. I think it's good in half, and it's probably even good in non, because he might be the touchdown guy for the Titans, but this is going to be more of an aerial assault for the Titans. So that is my urgent message. It's Tony Pollard day for FFM. When the next rankings, and I'm going to put him on the undervalued report, I'm putting chips ahead, putting chips into the middle, that this is a great undervalued asset right now. And if I've read this situation wrong, the absolute worst thing that's going to happen is Pollard and Spears are going to split, and Pollard's going to be an RB2 and a half. You'll have bought fair value. Don't overpay for this. This is not trade the whole universe to try to get on him. The beauty of this is that the sentiment is down on him. The sentiment is generally negative. So we want to get in and expose that. This is not about getting Pollard at all costs. Then it doesn't make any sense. This is about getting Pollard at a reasonable to ridiculous cost and laughing your way to the bank before the season kicks off and everybody sees what this Titans offense is all about, and then they're going to be regretting getting rid of Pollard. So that is it for this game report. On to the next one. I am out of here.